Hello everyone, this is Mr. Poe. As we have finished our midterm assessment and it had this part in which we were supposed to describe the pictures and share our impressions about them, I have decided to talk about each and every picture that was featured in detail, as I have, drawn and painted all of them by myself. Because, I didn't want to give just pictures, I wanted to give something unusual, and that's what I came up with. So, well, let's, go into detail about each one. So, the first one will be this one. And I think I remember, as I remember, I painted it. It was a New Year's Eve or something like that, and I wanted to paint a bullfinch because it was something that was in plan always. So I just got down and painted this, and it turned out to be really good. It's like a postcard or something. So the next one is this one. It's probably influenced by my childhood because when I was a kid, my favorite superhero, one of them was Batman, especially this Batman, which is Bruce Timm's design, who worked on Batman animated series. If you watch this animated show, you are lucky because this is considered to be one of the best critically acclaimed, animated shows ever. So the next one is this one. It has a history. You probably noticed that the birds in this, painting are exaggerated. They're like animated big. I did it on purpose because I wanted to make something more in animation style, so something stylized. And I came up with this spontaneously. I wanted to depict this cozy, laid back winter view and a person walking, just enjoying, the atmosphere, the weather, or whatever. So the next one is this one, Doctor Strange, and I remember I drew it straight after watching, Doctor Strange movie, and I wanted to make something that would reminisce Benedict Cumberbatch, but at the same time reminisce about Doctor Strange from comic books. For example, this outfit is straight from the comic book. Well, and his powers, this circles, how were they called? Mandalas, right? They are actually drawing using digital software. It's an Artflow Studio, as I remember, or maybe a Photoshop or something. So these mandalas are drawn by Photoshop, I guess, as I remember. And the stars behind is just an overlay effect, okay? So other things are drawn by hand using, pencils, and then inked by just a pen, okay, black pen. This one is interesting because it was featured in a newspaper. When I was working at the Lyceum, we had this project in which we were supposed to, talk about different, interesting novels to students, and I came up with an idea to share some information about Herbert Wells's War of the Worlds. So I came up with this. It is stylized painting, as you can see. Yes. So but I think it translates the horror and the whole like sci-fi element of this novel really well. And I was very proud of this one when I finished that. All those shadows, all this angular, like details blended with a smoother, like details of the tripods themselves. Yes, these aliens. I think it translates all this contrast really well, and it just, it was spontaneous actually. So yeah, and I really like this one myself. So the next one is this one. It is based on a real street location near, my neighborhood. I was just passing by this place and I photographed it. And, I have decided to draw it. It is like one of those more realistic, paintings that I, worked on. And, I left these white spaces here. If you noticed, these white spaces, this is like white, the sky, etc. These places, there is no paint at all. I made it on purpose in order to create this, light, feel to the painting. Well, the next one is X-Men. And this one has an interesting history because it was spontaneous. I started with Rogue, right, and Gambit, and then everybody else. And at the end, I added, Wolverine, his daughter, Deadpool, So that's how it came together. And my X-Men is my favorite team in comic books because I think that the X-Men is more educational. It's about like it has the same dynamic. It has this school university dynamic, right? So because X-Men are not just X-Men, they are also students, and Professor Xavier is a professor, right? Teacher. So I can relate to that. So the next one is this one. This is a location near Capital Bank. You probably know it. Yes, in Fergana City. I photographed this place and then I decided to paint it. And it was also an attempt to paint more realistically because most of my paintings are more like impressionists. So I wanted to make something more photographic. So that's what it turned out to be. I struggled a little bit with this because the light depiction wasn't proper at first, but I tried to do my best with limited tools. So the next one is this one. Actually, this was inspired by a song, Me and Mrs. Jones. And when I was listening to this song, I was so impressed by it and by emotional aspect of it that I decided to depict it how I see it. So that's what I painted. The snow and the woman going her way, and this gentleman just sees her off with his eyes, and he doesn't want her to leave. But that's what it is. Life itself is an obstacle here, some life circumstances, if you will. Next one is this one. It's I painted in on pieces of plastic. This plastic which is installed on ceilings. So there was some leftovers, and I decided to paint on them. And it is more like a decorative like item here. Both of these pieces are decorative, and one is more like natural, another is more urban. And they still are in loggia at home. So I kind of like those two because they are more I don't know, like they are more plain in color and in texture, more decorative. Okay, so I really like those two as well. I had much fun painting them. So the next one is this one. This is my earliest work. It was actually a pencil drawing, or I think like pen drawing or something, doodling, right? And then I decided to colorify finish that in software. So I used Artflow Studio for tablets, one of my most favorite programs. So I spontaneously like colorified all that, put some textures or whatever. I don't remember what I was inspired by, but the whole like feel was really good. I think I was inspired by a film or a painting or maybe something that I observed. I don't remember even, but it turned out to be really nice and stylish. So the next one is this one. It's like a later painting, I think in 2021 or 2020, New York, right? And I painted by looking at the photograph inspired me. And as you can see on the right side, we see some steam coming out of fire hydrant or something, because in New York it's typical to see this kind of sight. So well, I like the reflections here, and it is painted with watercolor, and of course other details like those are painted with gouache to give them a more solid feel. The next one is this one, and it gives me this, I don't know, like uplifted feeling because of the colors and because of the lightness of this painting. And it took me just like 40 minutes to paint that. I also painted this by looking at the photograph which I found on Pinterest. And if you have noticed, this place here has no paint at all again. Yeah, because it was just light everywhere. So I left it like this in order to make this contrast. It breathes something because of the leaves and how scattered they are. This painting, in my opinion, it breathes a little bit. So the next one is this one. And, I think you guys know that I am a fan of anime. And it has been since my teenage years. At certain point in my life, I stopped watching, but recently I resumed, and I'm very happy about that. So this is actually an illustration for Bleach, a very, very popular and critically acclaimed animated series, shonen series, right? And I was inspired by certain official artworks of characters from Bleach. So I wanted to translate the fun the friends, the characters in this series have. I was very happy when I finished that. It was initially a drawing which I finished later by colorifying it and making outlines in Artflow Studio on my tablet. Well, this one is Time to Navruz. This is done entirely in my tablet. The outline was actually a hand drawing, and then I scanned it and I sent it to the Artflow, and I then textured it, colorified it, outlined it, or whatever. So, and this is version number 1, because there is a later version of this drawing as well. And I was inspired by the Kurdish people, and their tradition of celebrating Navruz. But I also wanted to make the outfit of this woman something that everybody could relate to who celebrate Navruz. So it is time to this wonderful holiday, and I wanted to congratulate people on that. And I came up with this, drawing, which depicts new beginnings, new breath of life, new year starting, etc. So early in the morning the woman is going to celebrate. She is looking forward to new beginnings in life. Well, that's it, and I'm very, very happy about this one as well. The next one is one of my earliest paintings. I did it spontaneously, inspired by several songs that I was listening to when I was painting, and I came up with this. This is actually a very small piece, but I liked how I depicted the textures and shadows of it. Just take a look at the umbrella here. This is done very, very spontaneously and not very accurately, but overall feel is really good. It's like impressionist, yes, feel. So yeah, I like this atmospheric vibe it gives, right? So yeah, but it's a little bit sad, to be honest, because I was thinking about lots of things when I was working on that one. This one is Kamchik Pass. You've probably guessed already when we were describing this one. I was driving to Tashkent and I saw this beautiful view with absolutely gorgeous clouds, and I just took a photograph, and then at home I have decided to paint this one. It wasn't that easy, especially considering that the clouds were very white. So I had to put a lot of layers of white paint, because you probably know, if you overlay the lighter paint on a darker paint, if it is not dry enough, sometimes it is just a struggle. So I had to do it a lot in order to achieve this whiteness, okay? So the next one, this is an illustration which is also done in tablet, and there is a hand-drawn outline that I made. I think I saved it somewhere. This is a poster which I used as a smartphone wallpaper, which depicts 2 of the characters from my own comic book, which was actually inspired by manga, which is called The Loner. So The Loner, this is this main character. It's like a private detective, and he has Makoto, his apprentice, who is standing, behind him. And together they solve different problems, mysteries, etc. all over their native city. Well, this was a good project. I wanted to continue, but it's been a long time, because I came up with this idea in 2015. I was drawing for quite some years, but now I think that there will be no continuation. So this one is inspired by the race. I think it was 4 hours of Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, and it depicts this rainy weather during the race. And this car is actually an LMP2 car, a special car designed for racing, which I think it's a G-Drive team, right? So they were struggling in this rain. So I wanted to depict this rain. And very, very, very undrivable conditions. Take a look, other cars are barely visible. So that's what I came up with. It was a quick painting, but it had some moments of struggle here, because depicting the fog and the thickness of the humidity wasn't that easy, to be honest. The next one is this one. It's an interesting drawing, by the way. It's initially a sketch. It was a sketch which was done spontaneously. I think it is possible even to see it through the outlines. You can see some pencil leftovers. So what I did, I scanned it, and then I finished, drawing it on my tablet. And you know, I was inspired by lots of things, but one of the inspirations was Catwoman, right, from Batman. And you know, I think some other photographs that I saw on Pinterest, you know. So I wanted to depict this really interesting young woman, you know, wearing this casual outfit, yeah, you know, with short haircut, because to be honest, I like short haircuts more than long haircuts. And I wanted to depict her standing somewhere waiting for a bus, maybe on the street, or maybe in an underground waiting for a train or something, thinking about different things, you know, looking for somebody. So, you know, that's what I came up with. And later I used this artwork, a slightly modified version, for one of my beats that I released. You know, it was like a single or something. So the next one is this one. I don't even remember when I painted that, but I was quite thoughtful when I was doing this one. And I started actually with the figure of this, you know, man himself, and then I painted everything else around, including the background, which was easy. You know, first I overlaid this blue, you know, paint, and then black one. And then at the last moment, this whiteness in order to show the perspective, right? So, I was quite depressed, to be honest. I think, as I remember now, when I was working on this one. And the reflections, not the reflections, but the light and the contrast of a shadow produced by the figure, I think they speak for themselves, that, you know, it is something thoughtful and maybe something frustrated. I don't know. That's the vibe that it gives to me. So the next one is this. It wasn't featured, and my uncle is a fisherman. You know, he likes fishing. He often goes, to wild places to catch fish, and I wanted to present him with something that he could relate to. So I, created this painting. Of course, you can see a tuna here, and it is basically impossible to catch the tuna with this. But I just exaggerated the tuna. It should be much smaller. Yes, there are some tunas like this, big, but it should be small in order to catch it with fishing rod. Anyway, I think it's a good one. Yeah, it is kind of stylish. There are some shadows, lots of water, splashes, etc. So this is 1994 24 Hours of Le Mans, and I like this drawing because, or not drawing, but painting, because it's really photographic. I used a lot of shadows and tones here in order to create this photographic effect. You may probably see it, right? So, yeah. And I was so inspired by the photographs that I decided to translate the beauty of it, to the paper, because, this painting is, on paper, on torchon paper, if you will. Well, and I have a few other, paintings of the same nature, because I'm really fond of racing, and especially Le Mans. Le Mans takes a special place in my heart. This one is done by pencils. Yes, because I wanted to prove that you could do something good with pencils. And I found an interesting photograph, and I, drew this. And I didn't even draw an outline that much. I just started drawing with pencils, and of course dark pencils were the last that I used. And in order to make it smooth, then later, just using the finger, I just, tried to like spread all this graphite evenly so that it looks better. So it gives me this street vibes, for which I'm really happy when I look at this one, right? And I also use some correction fluid in order to make those lights. Yeah, that's what I used. The next one is this. It's one of the latest paintings, which was inspired by a photograph I found on Pinterest. I try to depict winter. I try to depict New York, its brightness, its colorful like nature at night. So, and I also wanted to, put a lot of emphasis on shadows, reflections, etc. So, that's what, I came up with. So that's what it is, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I tried to explain everything in detail. Yeah, because there is always something to talk about when it comes to any work. Let's say a painting, drawing, or a novel, or a film, or whatever else, right? So, well, I promised you to comment on everything, and I tried to. Because if I wrote that, on my Telegram, it would just take much time. So I decided to record, the video instead of posting about this. So okay, thank you for tuning in, and thank you if you watch this video. See you later then.